Well, hello and welcome to the Tingling Tea, where we talk about the strange and the supernatural, the weird and the wonderful, the creepy and the cryptid, and all that is phenomenally freaky. I don't even know where to begin tonight because usually I do my introduction to my first host, which is Annabelle. But Annabelle's not with us this evening. She wasn't feeling well. So I do have my other illustrious host with me this evening, the wonderful, the awesome, the amazing Augie Ominous Peterson. Hello, how are you?
Hello. I'm second best, but I will have to do this evening.
Oh no, you're not second best. You all are definitely running neck and neck, or it depends on what day it is. That might help.
I like your ears. They look good
Thank you.
tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. You always adjust them for me before we go on live. So I appreciate that because they're always
Well,
like
they have to
cockeyed.
match. They can't be cockeyed ears.
Definitely they can't. So we have a lot of content to go through tonight.
We
And we
do,
have a
yeah.
very creepy, scary subject matter to discuss this evening. So I'm just gonna put this out there right now. We usually do a disclaimer that if you don't like this kind of content, if it's too scary for you, if it's not the kind of thing that you go into, because we really talk about some very creepy and scary things, then we ask you to basically not watch our show, turn it down or whatever. And then we also advise you not to have your children watch and to use parental discretion when watching the show. But tonight, this is definitely not a children's show. So I don't care if you're using your best parental discretion. I would recommend that your children do not watch this show this evening. And I'm just going to put it out there because the content that we are going to be discussing tonight, um, kids will be kids and they will do things, without your knowledge. It's just tonight, I just don't feel like this is a subject matter that they need to be partaking in. So
It can be it might be pretty scary for some people. So probably best to avoid that situation unless you want a lot of nights where you're not getting any sleep.
exactly. And not only that, kids, we've all been there. We've all done things despite the fact that we were told to heed warnings to it. And the majority of the content that we're discussing tonight involves kids.
Yeah.
Kids doing what they're doing, just having a ball doing whatever. So we're just not going to have that tonight. We're just going to keep it right there and just say, hey, y'all, no kids tonight. This is a grown-up show. So
and with that, I will get my iced tea.
Yeah, I'm telling you, because all you have to now is just blame yourself if you decide to let your children watch this show tonight.
We're going to be spilling some adult tea tonight.
Definitely some adult tea. So before we go on, I just want to tell everybody once again that we are on vacation for the month of August 2021. Yes, we are. We're on vacation. We are going to go on hiatus, and we will not be returning until September the 9th. So this is a time for you to go back, look at some of our old content, like, subscribe, follow, ring the bell so that you know whenever we're going to air something. It's not going to, sometimes, in the future, we may just decide to air something that is not on a Thursday night. So, make sure that you do like, subscribe, follow us, comment, tell us what you want to see from us. We really would like to hear from our fans.
We love hearing from our fans. And do you know what I looked up earlier? I was on our YouTube channel and I was looking up, when did we start doing this? We actually started doing this in the beginning of October last year.
Yes.
So we're almost at 1 year. Almost
at 1 year. And that's amazing because we started it as a result. We all work together in real life, and we often have these kind of conversations. And so we decided, hey, why don't we just bring this to other people who love this kind of stuff as well? And here we are.
Absolutely. So are you doing anything good for your vacation?
My parents are coming to visit soon, so I have a lot of cleaning to do. And I don't even want to begin to tell you all what my house looks like right now. I'm ashamed. So I have the whole month of August to kind of get that worked on, and just some much needed rest. I ain't gonna play about it. I need it. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that I do outside of work, and I just I need a rest.
Yeah.
So
Well, I don't do much outside of work, and I still need a rest.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what you're going through.
Yeah. And I want to have my whole entire house cleaned up for the month of October. Yes, October is my favorite beginning of all of my favorite holidays, and
Yeah.
namely Halloween. So I want to actually
And
be
my
able.
birthday, of course.
Yes, of course, your birthday. I forgot about that. Your birthday is
Uh-huh.
October. We're going to have to celebrate. And so, and Comic Con is at the beginning of October. Hopefully, that it will be in session. It will be live. Um, Now with this new variant going on, we don't know if that's going to happen or not. So, but hopefully it is. So October is a usually very busy month for me because I'm usually doing events with the Tingling Tea, and we're planning the Tingling Tea. I'm sorry, the Tingling Tea and the Bitten Apple TV, and we're planning on actually attending some events as the Tingling Tea this year. So
We
I'm
have
looking
made the
forward to that.
commitment. We will be
Yeah,
there.
yeah. We were making the commitment, so we can get some content to you, some different type of content to you, instead of just like talk podcast stuff. We want to
Yeah.
actually get some interviews and stuff in there for you. So let's move on. You brought something to my attention today that I was so excited about this.
I literally slacked you saying breaking news.
Yes, and yes,
Get
you know,
ready.
I totally was not expecting this. There is going to be a new Predator
That's right. Announced today.
announced today. But what is
Yeah.
even more exciting about this is that one, the new Predator is going to be female.
Yep.
She's going to be female. And on top of all that, it's going to be played by Amber Midthunder. Now, if you don't know who Amber Midthunder is, she's in talks right now to be the star of this new Predator movie that's coming out. She was in the FX series Legion and the CW series Roswell, New Mexico, and she's made appearances in Longmire and Banshee. She is First Nation, indigenous here to North Native American, and she's from the Sioux tribe. She's a Fort Peck Sioux tribe.
I had no idea. That is so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So I am so psyched about this. And now thinking about this story, I'm wondering where they're going to take this storyline. I'm thinking that they're going to go back to some of the fan lore that has actually happened with this storyline. So the storyline is, but it's, I think that she's Asian or Japanese, a Machiko. And there
Hmm.
is other stories that were written when Alien versus Predator and stuff like that. So other subsequent stories that were written. But one is the Predators or the Yuja, that's what they call them, came here and fought long time ago. So this is going to be about the first Predator. And the first Predator
This
and
is an
in the
origin
lore,
story. That's
in the
right.
origin story, is a female, and she was human. She was human.
Wow.
So
That's
I'm wondering.
interesting.
So I'm wondering if they're going to take that narrative, that storyline, and kind of change it to the First Nation or Native American perspective of when they first encountered, the Predator. Now we do know that in all the stories that we've watched, especially in Alien versus Predator, that we saw them come back here all the way back to when we had the pyramids, the Aztec pyramids, the Peruvian pyramids, all of
That's
that.
right.
They've
Mhm.
been here way before when they came and met the indigenous people here in this country. So this is going to be interesting. I'm so psyched about this to see what they come up with when it comes to this storyline. I mean,
Absolutely. I mean, it's actually going to be directed by David Trachtenberg.
mm-hmm.
So, he's known for a lot of different things, like The Boys. The Boys that
Yes,
is a series that
one of my
is
favorite shows.
very popular right now. He's done a lot. He's done a lot of really good content.
Okay.
So
Wait a minute. Whenever you mention The Boys, I have to say hello to Laz Alonso, who I went to school with at West Barron.
you
Hi,
did.
Laz. Hi, Laz. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
There was something more to that. So we think it's going to have a female heroine, and it might be the same woman that we're talking about now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we know there's going to be a female heroine. And the plot does go back to the original Predator movie. Actually, it's the and ultimately, it's really like the original. By the way, they're already filming and they're getting dailies, so they already have the script locked in. They have the actors locked in. They're filming and getting dailies right now. So they really say that it's the ingenuity of a human being who won't give up, who's able to observe and interpret, basically being able to beat a stronger, more powerful, well-armed force. So it goes, they're saying that what's so exciting about this is the producers can't hold back their excitement when they're receiving the dailies every day. They're seeing this vision and seeing these things come together. They don't know if it's going to be R or PG-13. It hasn't been cut yet. You know, all of these things to check out, but they're so excited about the vision that is being presented with the dailies that they are starting to get the word out right now.
Yeah, I honestly feel that they're actually reimagining the story of Machiko, the first female predator that I was talking about, and they're using, which seems to be much more. Well, that's not to say that Machiko's storyline will not be told, because as of being an indigenous of an Asian country, that's where she came from. But they're looking at it, or taking this from the perspective of coming to what we now know as Turtle Island, and coming in, and what happened when they first encountered Turtle Island, and how did this woman become the first female predator? And that was it. She was resilient, and she was hated by all the predators. So I'm just trying to figure out what this woman did to become the first female predator, to win against the predator, who is a formidable force and a formidable enemy, and what she did to survive it and become well respected in their culture.
1980s, Arnold Schwarzenegger couldn't do it.
No.
He struggled.
But Danny Glover did in Predator 2.
Yes, he did.
And so did Sanaa Lathan in Predator 3.
Yes. And right. Is that Alien versus Predator was Sanaa Lathan?
Yeah, Alien versus Predator. Yeah.
I love that. I thought that was so good.
I love that.
I thought she just kicked ass in that movie.
Yeah, I love that movie too. Totally love that movie. A lot of people don't love that movie, but I love that movie.
Oh yeah, I love it too. All right, time for the next big reveal.
So, the next big reveal is our storyline tonight.
We're not going to talk about the other movie?
No, I didn't bring the other movie up. Wait a minute, you told me about another movie?
Yes, the one that has to do with Ouija possession.
Wait a minute.
The Exorcist.
Oh! Wait a minute. I totally forgot about that movie. I'm thinking about the old Exorcist. Yes, but let's talk about the new Exorcist, by the way. And I don't have any footage for it. I am so sorry, you all, because I totally misread what we were talking about tonight. I mean, everything that we're talking about tonight is kind of plays into what our discussion is. But there is going to be a remake of The Exorcist.
That's right. And it's actually, I believe it's a sequel to The Exorcist, to the original Exorcist. And there's actually three movies that are under contract right now. And I'm so excited. It's going to star, man of stage and screen, Leslie Odom Jr. I mean, talk about a talent. And what I'm so thrilled about, he's amazing. What I'm so thrilled about is so it's a trilogy. It will also star Ellen Burstyn, who's coming back as Chris McNeil.
As Chris McNeil. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we assume that her character will show up to help Odom with his sort of situation. After all, Chris is probably the best person who understands this situation of anyone else. By the way, it's a joint team effort with Universal Pictures and Peacock. And they acquired the rights to the trilogy for $400 million. And I'm sure it's going to make tons more than that. And by the way, it's set for a movie release in theaters in 2023.
Well, I know that if Leslie Odom Jr. is going to be in it, it's going to be good.
It's gonna be so
It's going to be
good.
good. I really like the perspective of him possibly being a black exorcist. I mean, this is something that our favorite TV show that we like to watch, which is Evil,
Evil.
also deals with that this conflict that this man has of being, he's going through his priesthood, and he's a black man, and how he fights the racism within the Catholic Church, as well as just fighting himself and everything that he has to give up to become a priest. So it's just, oh, I can't even wait. I'm so sorry I did not put any details about this, but hopefully by the time we come back in September, we'll have more information on the new Exorcist trequel, as we call it, and because maybe threequel, and and we'll have some footage for that. Yeah, I'm so sorry I forgot to add that on there, but I knew.
That's right. I thought I saw those slides, but I guess I didn't.
Yeah, but that was the old Exorcist. That was the old Exorcist. That actually has something to do with our content this evening.
So, it does. Okay.
Yeah, got it. Okay. So anyway, let's go on to what our subject matter is going to be this evening. And no, it's not that. We are excited to talk about our content this evening. We have a lot of content to show you and some footage. I will preface this by saying that while I was doing research on this, I was, even last week when we were doing our content, I was like so creeped out by what I was viewing. Just watching it, watching it and everything like that, the footage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And from the perspective of someone who is a woman of faith, I don't understand why this game still exists, why any of these games exist, and why children decide, or any of us decide to partake in it, based on some of the video footage that I saw this week. So,
and that we're going to show,
that we're definitely going to show.
Okay.
So
I have not seen this. So
no, you haven't seen it. But we just, I'm telling you that this is so serious. And, I can't tell you enough. I think people don't take it seriously. And not only did I watch footage of possessions themselves by the spirits of Ouija boards, but also things that have occurred while people were having Ouija board sessions. Things that have occurred in their house, things that they released in their home. So Ouija boards and spirit boards really have a very interesting and strange history.
They sure do.
How they were created, how they came about, why they even exist. But it started out during the spiritualist movement, which was a very big movement that came about in the 1920s, And it's a very free time for us. This is the beginning of flappers and prohibition and expression and everything like that. But also spiritualism. It had an existence prior to the 1920s, but it became a very popular thing in the 1920s.
That's right. Yeah. Well, it began in the 1800s, primarily around 1886. And it was following normally things like this follow different big events. Yay, The Exorcist. The event in this case was, the Civil War, where you have many people grieving many people who have died and have that desire to connect back to them. And they'll utilize whatever means necessary to do that. And I can talk about the history if you want, or you can certainly go on.
Yeah, you could go ahead and I'll just insert some things in, from what I do know about it.
Sure. So actually, let's take even a further step back in history. So the first mentions of what we call automatic writing, or writing by itself method using a board is actually found in China in 1100 AD. Mm-hmm. It's found in historical documents of the Song dynasty. And the method was known as Fuji, which is a planchette writing. The use of the planchette, which we'll talk about in a second, is a means of necromancy and communication with the spirit world. So that's really where it had some of its, origins in using something like this to speak to the spirits. Now, fast forward to, the spiritualist movement that you were talking about, who began different means of communication with the dead, especially following the Civil War. They did a lot of business where they would contact the dead for lost relatives. And the Ouija board itself was created and named in Baltimore, Maryland in 1890. But the use of talking boards was so common by 1886, which is before Ouija became an official thing, that news reports from the phenomenon taking over spiritualist camps happened in around 1879 to 1890, and that happens in spiritualist camps, very interestingly, in Ohio. And I don't know anything about that, but that seems so interesting that there must have been a big group of spiritualism happening in Ohio in the late 1800s.
I imagine too, at the same time where you're having this spiritualist movement, you also have the evangelical movement. So you've had two, basically, this was just like I said, it was a time of people seeking spiritual knowledge, and just being completely enraptured with it, and so that it doesn't surprise me that this kind of stuff became popular during that time.
Absolutely. And I know you have some slides on this. There's a businessman named Elijah Bond who had the idea for to patent the planchette, sold with a board on which the alphabet was printed, much like the previously existed talking boards. So he filed a patent for patent protection on May 28th of 1890. Now, following the commercial introduction in 1890, the Ouija board was regarded as an innocent parlor game.
Yeah.
It was not related to the occult or spiritualism or anything like that. It was a sheer entertainment, things for people to do at home with their friends and family. And when an American spiritualist named Pearl Curran got it, she started to utilize it for her, discussions with the dead. And she's the one that popularized it as being a divining tool. And that was during World War I, exactly when you were talking about. So interestingly enough, though, listen to this. An employee of Elijah Bond, who of course did that I just talked about, was a gentleman named William Fuld. And he started production of his own boards under the name Ouija. So, and then that was manufactured by a novelty company. And they started to create the Ouija board. And they said that the name came from a combination of French and German words for yes.
Yes, right. So it was the Kennard company, the Kennard novelty company, that actually came with it. And I understand that there were 4 investors in this spirit board. So initially you have the spirit board and then you have the Ouija board that was created. But I think that it became a lot more popular with the Fox sisters, who I showed before then, that were spiritualists.
That's right.
And so, people were, astounded by these women during that time. And they were like, listen, I mean, even Mary Todd Lincoln went to them after the death of Abraham Lincoln and inquired about, him, to talk to him, to the dead. We know Harry Houdini's wife Tess did as well, or Bess did as well. So this is a very common thing that it started being used by spiritualists and just basically being marketed as something that you can have where you could personally talk to spirits within your own home. I think that it was innocent to that extent, but people never knew that, it was anything that like that. And if you think about it, Parker Brothers, who now owns the rights to the Ouija board, are still selling it as such, as a game.
They are. And by the way, the Fox sisters were really well known, living in upstate New York. They would tap on the walls, and then spirits would tap back to them and give them sort of the answers to the questions that they would ask. So when they started to adopt the Ouija board, as a means to communicate through their popular following. It created that level of popularity. On top of that, though, you also had sort of the connection to Christianity. Ouija boards aren't as powerful if you work with people who don't believe in so this became a lightning rod for people who believe in spiritualism, heaven, hell. The people are elsewhere, and think of us. We have always we have had people die, and we of course miss them every day and would love to talk to them again. So I understand that need.
Right.
But the Catholicism has actually warned publicly against Ouija boards, and I think you're going to talk about that as well.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that. So these are the 4 investors of the initial Ouija board, and one of them, who was Elijah Jefferson Bond, who you were talking about, actually has the Ouija board on his tombstone.
Hilarious! That's amazing.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
Yeah, definitely. Just creepy as hell. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, he does. So I mean, it's just a phenomenal thing, and they've been created and actually in all kinds of forms. The planchettes have been differently, and one was interesting that we saw was the planchette that has the swastika on it. Yeah. So this is not only is this being played here in the United States, but it's being played all over the world. People are manufacturing one that speaks specifically to them. They're very beautiful and compelling boards. Some of them are just gorgeous. They're made out of cedar wood, and they smell like wood. And I'm saying this because I had one in the 70s. I had one. My mother bought one for us, just as a simple parlor game, not knowing what it was until The Exorcist, and then she threw ours out. That was it. She threw it out. And, not to mention that we lived in an apartment building at that time, and above us were some Jehovah's Witnesses, and we were asking the little girls, did they want to play the Ouija board with us? And they went and told their mom and dad, and their mom and dad came down and had a discussion with my mother about the Ouija board. And my mother told them to get the hell out of her face until she saw The Exorcist, and then that was it. She decided then that she
didn't want anybody thrown up in her face.
No, she didn't. Well, she didn't know anything about it. She didn't know that there were any demons or anything attached to it. Nobody knew it. They looked at it as a very harmless type of thing.
Well, it's sold just like any other board game, right?
It's sold like any other board game. It had like really compelling commercials, which actually I do have some footage of some of the commercials that we used to watch that sold this board. This is the exact depiction of the board that we used to have. It came in this box. My friend Lisa, we all used to play, me and her sisters, we used to all play it. I mean, it's just a fun, harmless game, is what we thought.
Yeah.
That's what we thought.
This is what I recall as well.
But I actually have like the first commercial that, one of the first commercials that was put out that Parker Brothers put out for the Ouija board in 1987. And this has gone through several transitions. There's one in 1929 that they put out originally that was on the radio for the Ouija board. And then, of course, then they have the one that we all know. So we can listen to the one that was from 1929 so that you all can go, on the radio, so you can kind of hear what that was like to when they sold this item. Let me just find this right now.
Hi, I'm Kip Parker.
And I'm Charlie Parker.
And we're
the Parker Brothers.
Hey, Charlie, what's missing from our game catalog?
I don't know, Kip, tell me.
Well, you can't talk to the dead.
You sure as hell can.
That's why we got this brand new game called Ouija.
Ouija? Well, break that down for me.
That's we, because you're having a great time. And G, it's because G, aren't you having a blast because you're having a good time with the Wii?
Looks like it smelled like a Chinaman got caught in there.
Don't question it.
Well, Ouija, Kip, tell me about it.
Well, inside the package comes a flat board with all the letters of the alphabet, numbers from 0 to 9, and a yes/no written out by itself.
That sounds like a lot of stuff going on.
That's got a lot of stuff going on indeed, Charlie. It also comes with this planchette, which hovers over the letters the dead are trying to tell you.
Well, how does that work, Chip?
Well, you ask the question, and then the dead move your hands in the direction of the answers.
That sounds like a heck of a way to find Grandpa's slave money.
Turns out it was in the attic. But the questions don't have to be as serious as slavery. You can also find out if Sally's got a crush on you. The dead like to answer all sorts of trivial questions.
Feels like they'd have better things to do with their time, Kip.
No, lost souls are lost forever, and they're really glad to help.
Well, gee, Kip, can't you just get any sort of board with numbers and letters and talk to the dead?
The dead prefer quality like anybody else. Quality you can only find at Parker and Parker.
The Ouija board, brought to you by the Parker Brothers, available in both white and colored wallworks. Separate but equal savings.
Well, I can say a lot about that commercial, honey.
Wow. Wait, to find their grandfather's slavery money?
Slavery money and the
What?
Chinaman reference.
Oh,
Chinaman reference.
Lordy.
Lord have
We're
we
so
moved away
woke
from
now.
We are
Looking back.
No, but that was on the commercial. Welcome
Oh.
to America. That was on the commercial. So then we're going to share with you the I mean, there was so much I could even sit right there and talk about that commercial, but we won't. We got a
The
lot to talk
Parker
about.
Brothers.
Yeah. It was just I just had all kinds of visions of the comments they were saying. So then let's watch the one that came out in 1987.
Ouija. It's just a game, isn't it? Isn't it?
Isn't it?
Parker Brothers kind of fun.
So that was the one. So it was still kind of like a scary, creepy type of scenario, but it was spooky fun.
Yeah,
you
with
know,
young kids.
Yeah, with young kids, definitely. Isn't that
Young,
interesting?
white, blonde kids playing,
Starting
talking to the
off
dead.
young. Yes, starting off very young. So, I mean, the fascination with the Ouija board, I mean, it's just, there's so many things about this. I mean, we had a man in Pennsylvania that created the largest Ouija board on his roof, from what I understand. And, you know, he put that on there.
Does he have a seance, or is it just there for
This is in Western.
airplanes?
Well, I don't know. I don't see a planchette. We'll get into that later. This is in Western Pennsylvania, but this is Blair Murphy's haunted hotel, and I think it's on the roof of the hotel. So the roof is on the board, and it's about 44 feet by 29.
Can it predict if there's going to be a leak?
I don't know if it was going to predict anything like that. It looks like that's a concrete roof. But Mr. Murphy grew up in Haddonfield, New Jersey, in a funeral home, by the way. He
Excellent.
knew a lot about that. Yeah. And he is now the owner of this spiritual firepower hotel room, which has 32 rooms in it, and the Ouija board on top of it. And then let's talk about also the one that has made the Guinness Book of World Records, and that's called Ouijazilla, and that is actually in Salem, Massachusetts.
That is crazy.
Yes, it was built. It was Rick Schreck and his family actually put it together, and it is in the historical site where the witch trials occurred.
Is it still there, or was this just like they took them out of those boxes in that picture and laid them out?
I think that this is still there. Let me go back. I think this is still there because people actually come and move the planchette.
Wow.
Just
That's
imagine
weird.
the energy there. Just imagine that.
Mm-mm.
You've got it in Salem, Massachusetts, which is Witch Central. There are a lot of witches that still live there in Salem. And then you've got this massive Ouija board where you can, with other people, actually move this Ouija board, the planchette, along the ground. So
Crazy.
imagine
And this is
energy.
And this is where the witch trials took place.
This is where the witch trial took place.
Creepy.
It weighs, this switchboard, I doubt very seriously. I think this is still there. It weighs 9,000 pounds and it's 3,168 square feet.
Wow. That's like a nice size house.
Right. It's twice the size of Mr. Murphy's, who I showed before. But
Unbelievable.
these are not, people erect these Ouija boards at a lot of places. So, they're very, there's still a novelty, and there's still some spiritual content tied to a Ouija board.
Definitely.
Really creepy. But we're going to get into some of the content that we promised you this evening. And we're going to talk about some of the Ouija board positions that we both came across when we decided to do this content. And the first one that we want to talk about and present to you is a mass possession that occurred in Peru.
Do we want to talk about the rules of Ouija, or we'll just go into the possession?
You know what? Let's go into that. Before I even start doing that, let's go into the rules.
Just real fast. Ouija has a couple of different rules. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Ouija.
We all call it Ouija, but go ahead, because I'll actually put the rules up here.
Okay. Number 1 rule, don't use it alone. Don't use this board alone, folks. Use it with someone else. Haunt not just you, but haunt your entire family. So invite other people to put their hands on the planchette, so you'll get the most out of it. So don't use alone. So I guess you could if you really wanted to, but that's not as fun. It's also good for grounding to have more people there, actually, to tell you the truth. And
let's not forget that in The Exorcist, when Regan played, she played it alone.
Yes, she did.
Think about that. When she played it alone with Mr. Happy, you understand what happened.
That's
she
right.
played it alone. She's talking to her mother about it. We all know what happened to her. And of course, this is based on a true story, in which a young boy was introduced to it by his aunt, who was a spiritualist, and he started playing it alone. So we know that it has some authenticity to what comes from playing these boards alone, or playing them when on. Okay, go ahead.
The second rule is use it in a dark and quiet place. Yes, it's more spooky that way, but it also creates a quiet canvas for the spirits to enter. So, turn off your TV and your cell phones. And it's important to set the mood when you're trying to, make connections with the dead. So,
no, thank you.
The third rule is please don't use it in a graveyard. Now, just don't. Using a Ouija board in a graveyard is like trying to have a conversation with a million strangers trying to butt into your conversation. When communicating with a spirit, this is one discussion you don't want to be interrupted. Random ghosts sticking their 2 cents into your spiritual connection can be dangerous. So keep it safe and keep it direct. You also want to make sure that you're talking to someone who is who they say they are. So you don't want to make the ability for other visitors to come in. The next thing is you can ask anything to the spirit, but the spirit can also tell you anything they want to say. So even the stuff you might not want to hear. So tread cautiously. The old saying, don't believe everything you hear, is key when making contact with ghosts. Be open, but at the same time, keep your guard up. So ghosts may not tell you the truth. So be a little careful.
Let me just say something about that. I'm going to stop it right there. Everything that you just said about these rules, don't play it in a graveyard. Don't play it with the night lights off. Don't play it alone. Everything about this tells me there's something spiritual or supernatural or paranormal about to happen. Everything is setting the atmosphere for that. In addition to the warnings that it's telling you, it also is telling you the things that evil spirits do. Evil spirits don't tell the truth. Evil spirits, lurk around in a graveyard. You need darkness to invoke a spirit that's a dark spirit. These are all things and indicators that if you were a spiritually sound person, you would kind of know, like, no, I'm not going to do that. Why would you? Why would you? It's already creeping me out.
Because it's
going through the rules.
entertaining. It's entertaining.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
For those of you who don't believe in the spirit world, this could be entertaining. For those of you who do, this is probably not. The next rule is it's polite to ask the spirit to introduce themselves. Right? You want to know that who you're talking to. You want to know their name, maybe. If you want to talk to Aunt Patty, make sure it's Aunt Patty.
But if they lie, how do you know that it's Aunt Patty?
Well, that leads us to the next one is when in doubt, listen to your gut. You don't like the vibes of the spirit? Don't be afraid to say goodbye. Remember, you're in charge of the board, not the spirit.
Oh
Goodbye.
Oh my God. Oh my
Not
God.
Aunt Patty. Goodbye.
No, by that time, what you think is Aunt Patty has already decided to jump on you. So
I don't know, turn you into the exorcist.
Yeah, definitely.
But not the exorcist, the possessed person.
The possessed person, right.
The next one is only the leader can ask questions. And that's because we don't want to overwhelm the spirit with tons of scattered energy. It's also because it's considered good form if the leader doesn't ask silly questions or openly doubt the power of the board. If you're going to ask it silly questions like, what am I going to eat for dinner? Then you probably shouldn't be playing the Ouija board. This is the most important thing. Always end the session by saying goodbye. Right? When the spirit does it on its own, you've had it, or you've had enough and want to leave the conversation, always exit by pointing the planchette toward goodbye. It makes it official. And finally, if you're not feeling that everything has left, you want to sage your room after you're done. Using sage incense around the room is a great way to clear the space of any unwanted or lingering energy from the other side. And that's the rules of Ouija.
Sage your room after.
That's right. Are you taking notes? I feel like you're taking notes.
I'm actually putting this stuff up here so people can. So,
So everybody, keep in mind, before you do this, make sure you heed the rules. Please don't play in a graveyard. Play in a place that's dark, in your home, it's comfortable.
Yeah, I forgot to add that one.
Don't trust the spirit.
Don't trust the spirit. So everything that you told me,
Uh-huh.
you basically have set up an atmosphere and you have to cleanse the atmosphere afterwards.
That's correct, yes.
That is too much trouble. And quite definitely ritualistic, and what causes spirits to come in is when you do rituals.
Tell that to young kids.
Yeah, it's very ritualistic, but nobody pays attention to that kind of stuff because they're doing it as fun. This is fun. How many people in the session, because something happens, and don't say goodbye and don't point the planchette to goodbye, and then leave the spirit out there? There are two spirits that are attached to Ouija boards, which we can go into in another session. We'll talk about that later at some other point in September. But there are two that are visibly attached to Ouija boards that always come through during a Ouija board session. And these are very high-profile demons.
Oh.
Yes. So I'm just saying.
We're going to get into Parker Brother knows about that. Are they going to get cut?
Who cares? If people are still buying those Ouija boards, they don't care. They're still making their money.
Because
for anybody who believes that there's something bad about them, there's one person, 2, 3, 5 people that don't believe it at all. And they want to try it just to see if it works. So those people are still making their money, regardless.
All right. We have to focus on possession.
Yes, we have to talk about
Let's
our
do it.
possessions. Yeah, let's talk about that. So we did promise that we were going to bring you some footage tonight of Ouija board possessions. And the first one that we wanted to bring to your attention is one that was a mass possession due to a Ouija board and a black book that came in. It was a spirit book that came in that some kids decided to use in a school in Peru. Now, let's get a little bit of context on this. So apparently one of the kids decided that she wanted to bring this black magic book to school along with the Ouija board, and they were going to play it. And about 30 kids got possessed as a result of it. They were what they identified as suffering from mass hysteria while playing the Ouija board, but they actually had a priest come in and bless the grounds right afterward.
That's right. There was a movie made of this as well.
Right. And the daughter of a teacher brought this book of black magic and the Ouija board to school. So what was the teacher doing with that in her house?
Unbelievable.
This made such news. This was on the news in Peru, you all. This was on the news. That's how big it was.
This was in November of 2014, and it actually impacted 35 students.
Yep.
In Bolivia.
Yep. Are Bolivia in Peru?
In Peru, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And they were taken to the hospital for treatment, and they suffered from mental agitation, confusion, profuse sweating, rapid pulses, and trance states. 35 people.
35 people. So let's take a look at this footage and then discuss it. Can you give us a little bit more detail on it while I pull this up?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
So at this time, it was 2014, there was quite a bit of activity going on all over the place. It was happening in Peru, it was happening in Mexico, and there was actually a Mexican psychiatrist who investigated this and the outbreak in Mexico that we'll talk about in a second. And she traced it back to the student that you just talked about, who influenced everything going forward. And she noted that the accused girl, whose name was Maria, was expelled for using the board and using the book. Before leaving, she was reported to have cursed the school.
What? Okay. Oh my God. This little girl was definitely into some dark stuff. Let's look at this footage.
80 children. Creepy.
Yeah, very, 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 very creepy. Very, very creepy. So this is like a common thing that's been happening possession-wise. What do you say about this? What do you think about this?
Well,
do you think it is mass hysteria, or do you think it is full-blown possession?
I think it's more along the lines of mass hysteria. I tend to think that when you have cultures that support, that are highly religious, and they talk about spiritualism, and they talk about by spiritualism in a positive sense. They talk about they're spiritual people, right? And they talk about heaven and hell, and people are more open to understanding what's going on and having different experiences than when you have more of a closed society.
So what
So
do you?
from my perspective, this is something that can be a shared experience among multiple people that have common beliefs, specifically in a culture that you know would fear this type of activity.
So then, how do you justify the Book of Black Magic and the Ouija board being there and the young woman cursing the school? Why would you feel that a bunch of children would decide to pretend to have this overactive response to this?
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's a conscious pretending going on here. I think it's probably not something like, it's not like a big lie that everybody is perpetuating at the same time. I think it's probably something where the kids are more open to this sort of behavior and this sort of belief system, and this would be something that that would impact them more than, say, some people where it would be more of populated by agnostics. That's my opinion.
I don't know. As somebody who definitely believes in this kind of stuff, I just don't. I think that based on what we were told there in that news report, that this school was built on a mafia graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just was. I think that it was primed for something like this, something to come out. And I do believe that this possibly happened. Now, these children were not possessed per se, but they saw a man in a man dressed in black threatening to kill them. Their spiritual eyes were open as a result of this incident. So rather than saying that it was a mass possession, it was more of a awakening of the spiritual eye, where they could see demons and see things that were not of this realm, per se. But for it to make the news, it must meant something. It made the news.
Absolutely. I think, whenever you have young children who are behaving like this, it's so frightening to look at.
Yeah.
It's so frightening to experience. Even if you can't explain it, it's still something that you have to stand up and look at and listen to and question.
Right.
The impact on, the most vulnerable in our society is horrific.
Yeah. I don't know. I tend to believe that it actually happened if it made the news. And one thing about, just the Latin culture, the Hispanic culture, them,
Mm-hmm.
Being deeply religious people, I have to imagine that something did occur as a result of it, So, interesting. We put the links to some of this the subject matter in our post this evening, so you can take a look at it yourself, and you make the decision if you feel that this is real or not.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know. So let's go on to our next possession. Now, this next possession occurred at something called the Witch House in England. So the Witch House is a story about a place called the Cage in the UK, from St. Asaph Village, Essex. And there was a jail that accused witches were put in who died during the Elizabethan era. And there are a lot of spiritualists that go there, and they attempt to contact these women who were accused of witchcraft in 1582 at this place called the Cage. So in this instance, a ghost hunting crew went to have like a spirit session there to get in contact with the main witch that was there. And one of their people that was with them, a woman by the name of Debbie, actually became possessed by the spirit of the witch. Unbeknownst to everybody that was standing there during the spirit session. And even Debbie didn't know that this was happening until she felt strange and sick and all this other kind of stuff afterwards. And so then she was asked to leave. This is probably some of the most compelling, scary footage I have ever seen. So I am going to show this footage to everybody. And then I'm curious to see what you think about this. Let's put it on.
I have not seen this footage, but I love the build up.
And I want to thank also all of the people who have participated in giving us this footage this evening. Their links are also in our post this evening. Go and like and subscribe and watch more of their content. Here we go. Let's see if I can share this. Okay, here we go. Let me move it to that part. And here we go.
I don't hear anything.
You don't hear anything?
No.
Okay, give me a moment. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Let's
So
go back to
while you're fixing that up, I'm going to talk to you about the Charlie game.
yeah, which is also something that kids are playing nowadays too.
That's right. So it's a primitive form of Ouija, and it was spread actually by social media in 2015. The game is played by writing the words yes and no on a piece of paper, and then two pencils are placed on top of each other, and questions are posed. As the top pencil pivots right or left to yes or no, a spirit is supposed to be answering the questions. In reality, we believe that vibrations, wind, and movement in the room can affect the pencil. But here are a few cases in the press. In 2015, 4 students in Colombia were hospitalized when they began screaming and babbling after playing the game. Also, actually, all 3 of these are in 2015. In May, schools in several countries across the Caribbean reported a wave of symptoms after playing the game, including trance states, confusion, and fainting, similar to that footage we just saw. Outbreaks in small groups of students were reported in Jamaica, St. Lucia, Antigua, Barbuda, and Barbados.
What?
Yes. And in June, just 1 month later in 2015, the Charlie game resulted in several students reportedly being possessed by the devil at Juan Pablo Duarte Primary School in the Dominican Republic.
So we definitely going to have to do some content on the Charlie game, because that's also a new game that all these kids are playing and being possessed by this devil. Either way we go through it, it's not necessarily the name that's attached to it. This is a gateway and an opening to these children for you to actually invite a spirit in, and a spirit cannot come in until it's invited. So basically that's what you're doing. You're inviting and invoking a spirit to come in. So it's to be expected. So let's go to our footage about the witch house.
Let's do it. I'm so looking forward to this.
The Old Witch's Prison. In December 2017, Brad Mack and his team were investigating a building known as The Cage in St. Osyth. The Cage is an old witch's prison separated into 2 parts. The second part of the building is larger and where the cells of common prisoners were held, around 20 to 30 of them. The part of the building that Brad's team investigated was the front section and where the serious criminals and most evil witches were held. The team performed a seance, and possibly one of the creepiest brief possessions I have ever seen occurred. Keep an eye on Debbie, the woman in the main shot. Her face morphs into something unrecognizable. Her nose becomes elongated and her fingers are grotesquely long and bizarre. The camera is hidden, but somehow the entity stares directly at it with a menacing grimace. She's pulled away for her own safety.
Face has completely changed. Doesn't even look like a person.
Right, Debbie, you need to come down here for a minute, please.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this one? Did a witch briefly enter Debbie and make itself known? Here are 5 of the creepiest paranormal events.
So,
That's it. I have chills. I have chills after watching that.
What do you have to say about that one?
That was super creepy.
And a direct manifestation to the point where her face completely changed as a result of that.
It did. And not only her face, her fingers,
Her fingers, everything.
ugh,
Yes.
her eyes became glowy and
Yes.
horrifying.
Yes. And that was from their CTV footage. That was not special effects. That is what occurred. And I heard that after they spoke to her, she said she didn't feel anything, but she started feeling a little sick. And she just thought that she was nauseated because she was hungry and everything. She didn't feel anything, like she had lost control of herself.
Yeah.
But she did not remember when
she opened her mouth. She opened her mouth a little bit
like she was talking, yes. So she didn't remember anything until when they took out. She said, I don't remember you all asking me to leave the room. I don't remember any of that when it took over her body. They had to make her leave.
Wow. Crazy footage.
Crazy footage.
I have no idea what that was. I have no idea.
I'm telling you, the deeper we get into this, the more I have to tell you that there is some truth and validity behind what is behind these Ouija board sessions and what comes through.
Yeah.
What is allowed in. So so let's go into our next one that we have. So this one also made the news. This actually happened in Peru again. This also happened in Peru, which is very strange. But I think the Peruvian, the Peruvian government is actually, they're actually doing a lot of footage on these possessions that are occurring within, within their community. They're actually doing that. I think this is the next one. Let me just make sure this is the next one.
Okay.
Oh, no. Let's talk about this. This is a possessed teddy bear.
Oh.
A possessed teddy bear through through a session. Some men in Mexico were playing with a Ouija board, and something happened while they were playing it. There's not very much footage on this, but or any content that I could say that I could know any story behind it, except that these men were playing with the teddy bear. With the Ouija board, and something happened while they were playing with the Ouija board. So let me share this content and go ahead and just talk a little bit more while I pull this up.
Sure, absolutely. Well, while you pull up the beautiful bear possession, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about another large outbreak that actually happened in Mexico. So it was actually the largest outbreak of illness attributed to a Ouija board, which took place in October 2006 and June 2007. So for 2 years, at a girls-only Catholic boarding school near Mexico City. Students at the girls' town school reported a variety of symptoms, including headaches and difficulty walking. Some students could only walk with the help of their friends. Symptoms would suddenly go away, and just as they went away, they came back and reoccurred. Of the student population of 4,000, 512 girls were afflicted. 512 girls.
So how do you account for that, though? 512 girls. How would you account for that?
You know what? I have no idea. I'm not a psychiatrist. I do not understand children's, what they do. I don't know how to account for that. Honestly, there's been a number of studies on the effects of Ouija boards, and there's been no scientific evidence that Ouija boards can contact the spirit world. But what was found was if the participants believe they do, like the spirit world exists, the anxiety of believing they are contacting spirits or demons can be overwhelming. And it triggers that overwhelming feeling triggers the trance states or episodes where people feel like they're hallucinating or not in touch with reality. So there's definitely been a lot of investigation into the power of Ouija boards and the sort of suggestion of the possibility that Ouija boards can create this. I actually had an incident where when I was playing with the Ouija board when I was young, we had to stop because there was a friend of mine who was playing with us, and she started to get very ill. She started to get numb, like she felt very numb, and had like those what's that feeling, you know, where you're like tingling in your fingers sensation.
Mhm.
And she started to act very erratically. So we all had to sort of stop and say goodbye and spend probably the next 2 hours with her until she came back. None of us were, you know, impacted at all, but she certainly, I'll never forget, she scared me to see her like that. So she certainly was impacted a lot.
Wow. To see, there has to be something about it. I don't believe that this is a psychosomatic thing. I believe that these people are actually feeling something, you know, there's something behind the spirit behind the Ouija board. And for her to feel that way, to get sick all of a sudden, you know, which was completely fine before she started playing, and all of a sudden now, you know, and this is not somebody who had any fear or trepidation playing it before, no fear or trepidation in going into playing the game. Something must have come over her.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, something definitely came over her. You know, those of us who were sitting right next to her didn't feel anything, but she definitely, you know, acted, both, she was scared and feeling sick, nauseous.
Wow. So let's look at this footage of the possessed teddy bear that I promised. Let's show that right now. And here we go. This is actual footage. This is in Spanish, so I might have to interpret it a little bit.
That's the teddy bear behind the guy?
Yes. So check out the teddy bear while they're playing the game.
I'm like staring at the teddy bear. What?
Yeah.
He just moved though. What? It's still moving.
Yep. And they have no clue. This guy just saw it. He thought he saw it. He's like, I'm out.
Creepy music.
Yeah. That's it. So what do you think about that?
I think there was someone in the little closet thing, but underneath them, going like.
That was a chest of drawer. Who was in the chest of drawer doing that?
Well, it was a chest of drawers on the right, and on the left, it was like an open cabinet-looking thing.
But wouldn't you have seen the hand? The head was moving separate than that. The head was moving. Explain that to me.
I have to watch it again.
Okay, so just like I said before, those links are at the bottom of the, if you want to watch these videos and make comments yourself, those links are at the bottom, and you can take a look at it and you decide if you think that this is real or unreal. I tend to think that it actually happened. And you know why? Because the first guy's reaction was like, I'm out of here. The first guy.
I remember that. Yeah. You know what? It just moves so much. It was just kind of like, hey, I'm possessed.
Well,
I'm a teddy bear, and I'm a possessed teddy bear.
I honestly feel like the teddy bear actually was not the object. I think that it was that footage was sped up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that it was moving slowly. But I think the footage was set up.
Is this another teddy bear?
No, this is the same one. So I just put that on there just for a visual. But let's go on to our next one because we have 2 more that we have to get through, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Let's do it.
So this is a girl possessed by Ouija board app. So lately, and I did not even know that these exist, there are Ouija board apps on your phone. Spirit board apps.
Hosted by AWS?
Listen, I'm just saying, they're there. They're there. And they work.
Oh, man.
And they're people are using them.
I don't see a goodbye. I don't see a goodbye on this.
I don't either. I'm just saying. There's no goodbye on it. I don't know. Very, very, very creepy,
That's totally creepy.
Yeah, I honestly, but they're on your phone. They're on your phone.
It is now 2021, and we can commune with the dead wherever we want, whenever we want.
I guess whenever we want to, wherever we want to. But you can
technology.
Put it in your phone. So this young lady was possessed by this made the news in Peru, and I do have a little bit of a background on her. Let me pull it up while we're talking.
Okay. I love when they put these images of the Ouija board, like with the hand, like the hand model holding it. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. So this incident happened to a young lady by the name of Patricia Quispe. She's 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She was from Choisica in Lima, province of Peru, and she was possessed by evil spirits after she used the mobile phone version of the board game. And according to her friends who spoke to the local media, she'd been spending time with them at the weekend. And then when she decided to just try it for a bit of fun and try to communicate with the spirit world. So they actually witnessed this. And after she went home, her parents noticed that she seemed to be unwell and eventually called an ambulance. And when they saw her convulsing and foaming around the mouth, and they thought that she was taking drugs. They thought that maybe she had taken something that, something had happened to her, that she had drank something, but they were like, no. They said she was playing the Ouija board app, and that this is what happened.
Wow.
And this is not a convulsion she was having, because when she's having we'll see in the footage while she's having the convulsion, and it is in Spanish, so I'll try to interpret it for you as much as I can.
Okay.
She was saying things like, let me go, 666, all kinds of stuff. And they told the parents, listen, she was playing with a Ouija board app prior to this incident occurring. And everybody believed it, even the medics and everybody. So I don't really know what happened to this young lady after this possession occurred, but she made the news.
Well, I am looking forward to seeing this footage.
Yeah, so let's share this footage real quick.
So this is her after she was possessed, or during the possession.
This is her after she was possessed, and she was in the ambulance.
Okay.
And this is what occurred. She said, I'm going to kill everybody.
Su voz era otra. No tenía control de su cuerpo y evocaba al demonio.
She evoked a demon and she wasn't able to control her body. She was speaking in a voice that wasn't her own. She's saying 666.
Patricia Quispe Condori tuvo este extraño comportamiento tras sufrir una serie de convulsiones. Según testigos, ella presentó una aparente posesión satánica luego de jugar a la Ouija en una reunión con amigos.
Estaba en una reunión
They were at a family reunion.
Posiblemente ha estado, no se sabe qué le han dado, ¿no? Puede ser que han estado jugando con un grupo de amigos esto
She was
de,
with her friends
aparentemente
and
de
they
lo que es
decided to
la
pull up the
Ouija
Ouija board
o
to play it on
Charlie
on
Charlie, ¿no?
Charlie
El
Charlie. They
domingo
were
en la
going to play it.
madrugada, Patricia empezó a botar espuma por la boca. Su familia llamó al serenazgo
When she started
y
playing
desde
it,
su
she
casa
started foaming
ubicada en
from
la
her
zona
mouth.
de Ñaña, en Chosica, la llevaron de emergencia a un
And they
establecimiento
called
de salud.
the ER,
Fue aquí donde
the
actuó
medicals for her.
extrañamente. Varios vecinos aseguraron que la joven de 18 años de edad habría usado una aplicación de su celular para invocar espíritus.
So apparently a lot of children in Peru right now, around the ages of 18, teenagers and stuff, are invoking spirits through this app on their phone.
Con mucha
Oh
dificultad,
my God.
intentaban controlar a la víctima. Sin embargo, tuvo que pasar más de media hora para que finalmente se tranquilizara.
It was more than a half an hour when they finally got her under control.
Por medidas de seguridad, Patricia fue internada en el hospital hasta establecer las verdaderas razones de su insólita conducta.
They put her in the hospital after this incident just to check on her to make sure that she was okay afterwards.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
Horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
how do you explain that? How do you explain the change
How
in
do you
her
explain
voice?
that?
How do you explain the change of voice? She wasn't just talking normally. She was saying demonic things. She was telling people that she was going to kill him. She was saying 666. You know, she's saying, let me go. You know, she had a complete transformation.
Yeah.
After playing that. So
I can't explain it.
I can't explain it either, but all I can say is, as a believer, I believe that actually happened.
Yeah.
To the point that it actually made the news, and they were actually saying that on the news.
Sure.
So
well, it's definitely a fright. It's massively scary. Like the idea that it could happen,
right.
And is a reality is just a frightening thing, especially when it, you know, impacts young, vulnerable people.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, that's all I'm going to say about that one. And let's just move on to our last one, which is because we're running out of time. Actually, we'll go till 9:30 and then we'll finish. I got two more. We're going to go make this really quick. And this is called The Summoning. And this one actually has made the rounds on all of our content that we've been watching. This is probably the most prominent one that people have actually seen of a true possession taking place during a Ouija board session.
Ooh,
so
this is a good one.
Let me pull this up. It was a young woman who was playing it with her friends, and I don't have very much context on this except that a young woman did this, and now she's famous all over YouTube for this incident.
Is she in the U.S.? Is this a U.S. based?
This is a U.S. based situation.
And does it look like it's happened recently, or was it in the 90s or 80s or something?
I don't know when exactly this happened, but it's very well known. It's very well known.
Yeah.
So let's look at,
I don't know that I've ever seen this. This doesn't sound familiar to me.
So let me just pull this up real quick. Go ahead, talk amongst yourselves.
Okay. Well, I'm the only person here, so I will continue to talk.
Yes, and if anybody answers, then I'm running out of here.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. Although I might want to stick around and ask them a couple questions first before I say goodbye. So what's interesting is when I was a kid, I used to play light as a feather, stiff as a board. Did you ever play that too?
Yes,
and that reminds me. That reminds me of the Ouija board. It was like the duo. We would play light as a feather, stiff as a board, and then we would play the Ouija game, the Ouija board game. And for all the times that I played light as a feather, stiff as a board, probably 10 times, it never worked. None of it ever worked. And of course, all of these blame the person who it does, saying the person who's playing it that it doesn't, they don't believe enough. Therefore, it didn't work.
Right.
Everybody was way too heavy for me to carry with my fingertips. That's all I got to say.
Well,
I've never seen this video. So let's
take a look at this video.
Okay.
It's extremely compelling.
Final question, and they are now ready to end the session. They start to move the cup in a circle 3 times to clear the board, but whatever they have summoned is not exactly ready to leave quite yet.
Okay. Oh my god!
Just before the girls can cast the spirit back into its own dimension, it desperately leaps inside one of them and takes control. Then the possession ends as quickly as it began. They all rush in, and one of the girls cradles her friends in her arms as she cries and trembles. They ask if she needs any water. Even though I'm not sure exactly what happened, I think it's safe to say that a glass of water probably isn't going to be enough to help her.
So what do you think about that?
Was she bleeding at the end?
Yeah, that was just bleeding from the mouth.
Ugh, that's terrible. It sort of reminded me of the experience that I had with my friends. I mean, not, where she was truly, something was wrong with her. I mean, what she started to show was sort of, she had a weird neck thing going on, and then she was looking up like that. And it's hard to know what is going on with things like that. I mean, is it possession? Maybe. I have no idea. It's kind of interesting to see that things go away as quickly as they show up.
Yeah, because it has to. First of all, if it wasn't invited, it's not going to stay. But understand that it's still lingering until they say goodbye.
Yeah.
But then these people have strange things happen in their home once they've released them and stuff like this. And I'm sure this girl was affected in some way afterwards.
I'd love to see what this girl is like now.
It doesn't stay long because the human body, one, is not going to, it has to be invited into the body.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, if you know anything about the law of possession, it has to be invited in. They said goodbye, so it departed. It left her body, and the spirit has to control it. It is a process. It's a process of possession.
Wow.
It has to get you to the point where you are willingly accepting it and allowing it to take over, and you've given it full rights of yourself.
Now, was she reaching for her friend, or was her friend reaching for her?
She was reaching for her friend at first. Her friend, she grabbed after her friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever was inside of her, but this is our last one.
Oh my
and I
God.
want to get you this so we can go on, because we're going to end our night with this scary session here.
Sure.
So this is also in Spanish. I believe that this might have taken place I'm not really quite sure exactly where this took place.
Mm-hmm.
This young man becomes possessed at the end. And I have to tell you, this was one of the scariest ones that I watched. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to see what you think about this.
Say no more. Say no more.
Here we go. They did a makeshift one. They created their own.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to put the cup in the middle. You got to put your fingers there on the cup. He's telling them how to play it.
En ciertos lugares, en ciertos cumpleaños de Romina.
En ciertos cumpleaños. Bueno.
¡Qué gran hermano! Vamos a...
Sí, sí.
Vamos a invocar el espíritu. Espíritu.
He's invoking the spirit right now.
As the dog starts barking.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. And I hear a creak or something.
No lo estoy moviendo.
He said, "Are you moving it? Don't move it. Are you moving
Si
it?"
viene para mi lado, ahora empujada.
Ah, cualquiera.
Y sí.
Ahí no sé yo qué está moviendo.
Yo tampoco.
He said, "I'm not moving it." He said, "I'm not moving." He said, "Neither am I."
Te mueves vos, Marisenia.
¿Cómo querés que lo mueva yo?
No lo muevas.
Yo no lo estoy moviendo.
What?
Ahora está.
What?
No, qué mentira.
Me estoy asustando. No, en serio, Ulises.
They're not all running. What?
Está. Debería tener algo.
He said he's playing. Stop playing.
Tiene un imán, man. Está, Udín. Está, dale. Está que María José está soltando un gallo. Dale.
No, está en serio, Agustín.
Oh my God.
Tengo miedo, Santiago, no está.
I'm afraid. Where is he?
¿Dónde está, boludo? Ay.
¿Dónde está?
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah. So
I have questions. I
Yeah.
have questions after
So
watching
let
that.
me tell you something. So when I first watched it, I thought this must be a production.
Yeah. That was my first instinct.
Yes. But how did his face change like that? Those kids ain't got no money, obviously. And that other little kid screaming the way that kid was screaming, that was not fake.
That was not fake. I agree. What I don't understand is like when that glass started to move by itself.
So
wouldn't those people have hightailed it out of there?
We don't know the backstory of why they decided just to stay there, and through the whole thing, they were thinking that he was joking with them. They thought that he was joking. They were like, "You're playing a game with us."
Yeah.
But I don't know how he would transform his face that quickly for that kid to be screaming the way that kid was screaming.
That was definitely creepy. The whole him falling over, being still, suddenly popping up.
Yeah, they kept saying, "You're playing. It's the jugando. You're playing. You're playing."
Giving us the jump scare at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely creepy.
Yeah, very, very creepy. But
Wow.
that's some of the footage that I've actually watched through this whole. I'm telling you that I've been amazingly creeped out watching this footage. My take on this is: please don't play Ouija boards. Please don't invoke spirits. Please don't give them access. Please don't open doors such as this. And if you feel like that you can do that, make sure that, I'm not going to stop. Me telling you not to do something like that is not going to stop somebody who's interested in doing it. But whatever you do, make sure you do it right so that you don't leave those things here. We live in a world right now that is overrun by evilness. And it just would not surprise me if this part of it is all encompassing, evil that is happening in this world. People are now much more fearless when it comes to doing things. Some of the crazy challenges that we see on TikTok, YouTube, and stuff like that. People have no regard of life or death or anything that is spiritual, in my opinion. So summoning these kind of things and playing with these kind of things, these things are definitely methods of invoking spirits. And definitely do not suggest you play these things.
Yeah, very well said. I think all of this playing this stuff is all in my past. I do not need to enter into having this as part of my life anymore.
Yeah. And we know that young people are going to do it. They're going to do something. I mean, some of us already know, especially if you have that real religious grandma or that abuela or somebody that's saying, don't be bringing that kind of stuff. But then again, you have many of these young kids that we saw today who are actually invoking these spirits and having these possessions. And let me tell you all something. If you don't get rid of that spirit, it has a tendency of hiding itself until the right time. It stays with you. Some people need to have a full-blown exorcism as a result of invoking these spirits and these spirits actually possessing your body. I just don't think that I want to go through anything like that.
Just don't do it.
Yeah,
really.
Don't do it.
Really. Go see the movie. Yeah, that's much easier.
Yeah. And do your research before you decide to open up any type of realm that you're not familiar with. Understand that those spirits have been around for a very long time. They are ancient and they are old and they will outsmart you. So just don't do it, y'all. adults and children. Just don't do it.
All right.
So that's our show for this evening. We are really going to miss all of you all because we are going on hiatus. This is going to be the end for us, till September. And I do want to add, just for our content and stuff, one of the things that I shared with Aki before we got on there is right now the Catholic Church has actually increased its group of exorcisms. But not only is it here in the US, this is going on all over the world.
Mm.
So what is this saying to us? This stuff is real. Don't play with it. So we're going to be seeing you all in September. We're going to have a very nice, wonderful vacation. We can't wait to come back and spend it with you. We're going to have some very creepy content, talk about some more creepy things, some more creepy footage. And
celebrate our anniversary.
Yeah, celebrate our anniversary and a few other little things that we have up our sleeve. So we are so excited. So take care. Have a very safe rest of your summer. And we will see you all in September. Stay spooky out there, you all.
Stay spooky.
Take care. Bye.